Something big is brewing as an NHL insider has revealed Chris Drury's future plans for the New York Rangers, and some of the details are genuinely insane and will change the future of this team entirely. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. But that's right, we finally got another Elliotte Friedman bomb in a new report on what Chris Drury is planning to do with the Rangers and what his future plans are for the Rangers, and they are pretty shocking. And there's been a few teams named officially and who will move a mountain, which is a quote, to try to sign Rantanen in free agency. Now, again, there are some reports, and I'm going to say it right off the bat, the Rangers are linked to Mikko Rantanen at this point. Now, there are some reports and some rumors that he may not even make it past the trade deadline in Carolina, which is insane in itself because of what happened in that trade just a few weeks ago. There are rumors that it's not that he's unhappy with Carolina or in Carolina. He's not performing well, and they could actually move off of him because they're unsure if they can sign him. And he's gonna command a lot of money, and we're gonna get into that later in the episode. But a few teams named from Elliotte Friedman. He was speaking on the NHL Network radio and names two marquee teams that he believes will be amongst those doing everything they can to sign Rantanen, regardless of their cap situation. And those two teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs and, of course, the New York Rangers. And he went on to say, this is a direct quote, teams will make room for this guy if they have a feeling that he's going to come to them. The New York Rangers, Toronto, it won't just be the teams with a lot of cap room. It'll be teams saying like, okay, if I have to move a mountain to get Mikko Rantanen, we're going to try and do it. Now, if you look at Mikko Rantanen, I mean, this guy's an elite player in this league, right? 6'4". He's over 220 pounds. Like, he is a physical force. He's a former Stanley Cup champion with the Colorado Avalanche. He logs a lot of minutes. He plays in every situation. So far this year, he has 66 points in 55 games. That's actually slowed down since he's been traded to Carolina. He's actually been struggling since he's been in Carolina. And he's just turned 28 years old. He still has a lot of hockey left in him. This is not like you're signing or acquiring in a trade a 34-year-old or a 35-year-old at the end of their career. This guy's in the prime of his career and has a Stanley Cup under his belt. So clearly this guy would change everything for the Rangers if you're able to acquire this player. There are a few things we have to get into though, and how it would work for the New York Rangers. And again, the Toronto Maple Leafs would have to move a lot of pieces. So I feel like the Rangers are actually in a better place to be able to sign Mikko Rantanen this offseason. And I think that's exactly what the plan is from Chris Drury here. I think that, we've been looking at all of this, and we'll get into his stats and stuff like this in a second, or more of his advanced analytics on what his contract might look like. But, the Toronto Maple Leafs have to move a lot of pieces to be able to sign this guy. The New York Rangers have a ton of cap space, which we'll cover in a second as well, that they can allot to a guy like this. Not a ton of cap space. They would have to make some things work. They might have to let go of a few players, but we know that was going to happen. I mean, you're moving off of $4.1 million in Ryan Lindgren right there, right? That's probably going to happen before the trade deadline, so that frees up that. Obviously, Shesterkin's new contract's going to kick in. What's going to happen with K'Andre Miller? If you can sign a guy like Mikko Rantanen and you also have JT Miller on the team, that's a great lineup. Like, you got to try to make that happen. So, again, the former Colorado Avalanche is off to a slow start with his new team in Raleigh, North Carolina, and has just 2 points in 6 games. But he's also playing 3 fewer minutes a night. He's averaging about 20 minutes a night in Carolina than he was with the Avs. This will be the most intriguing story to watch when he comes out, when we all come out, I guess, of the Four Nations face-off break, because there are going to be some more moves around the NHL. And if you acquire this guy in free agency, this is what you're getting. Former 10th overall pick, a 2-time All-Star. He had 55 goals just 2 seasons ago. He's a Stanley Cup champion. He was 6th in franchise history in goals and 7th all-time in points. And I mean, that's a franchise with some rich history as well. So pretty good numbers there for Mikko Rantanen. Now, in terms of what he's going to make, and we'll get into the Rangers salary cap situation in a second as well. According to this model, and I've been using these a lot recently because they're actually really good models and pretty close, right? A few comparables for him. I mean, elite players in the league. Artemi Panarin, obviously we know a lot about him. Elias Pettersson, David Pastrnak, Nathan McKinnon, and William Nylander. Great company for Mikko Rantanen, right? Honestly, he might be the best player out of that lot, honestly, like with his physicality and everything like that. Now, the most probable cap hit for him next season, according to this model, is $13.3 million. Now, there's no world where it's going to be that low. He's probably signing for 14, maybe just over $14 million. He is worth that. The salary cap is going up significantly every single season after this summer, almost $10 million every single year after. So if you sign him to $14 million, if you have to shave a little bit off next year, you can still add more in the seasons to come and be competitive for the next like 3 seasons if you're the Rangers, right? You can still be very competitive in that way. He plays a great two-way game as well. I didn't even mention that. Like, he plays in all situations, but he plays a great two-way game. So he's not like a Panarin who's, you know, kind of one-dimensional to a degree. He reminds me more of a JT Miller. Again, they're not the same type of player, but, you know, he's responsible defensively and he can play in all areas of the ice. So, again, it's the most probable according to the model that he signs for that much. But again, I think it's going to be 14, maybe just over 14, especially with the salary cap going up. A lot of these players are going to want a lot. And, you know, let's get into the Rangers salary cap situation now. And their current cap space right now is $10.8 million. They do have, you know, a lot of guys on LTR right now. So their projected cap space at this moment is $3.6 million. But heading into the deadline, they have $16 million to work with. And if you look towards next year as well, this is, you know, assuming nobody is signed, but heading into 2025-26, they have $18 million to play with. Now, $11 million-ish of that, or I shouldn't say that, about, you know, half of that is going to go to Shesterkin's raise. So you have to keep that in mind. But you still have a lot of money to play with. And if you want to shave off some other pieces, like, you know, Ryan Lindgren, for example, who probably isn't included in this anyway because he's signed for this year. But if you want to shave off some of those pieces, you can definitely do that. So you also have to account for Alexis Lafreniere too. But again, from the initial report that we broke down in this video, a lot of teams would be willing to move mountains. And if you're the Rangers, I don't think you need to move mountains. You need to move hills. If you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you have to move mountains. But the Rangers don't have to do that. So it's not as serious of a situation. And, you know, if you're Mikko Rantanen coming in here, again, these lines are all kind of messed up because obviously you got a couple guys on LTR right now. But if you look at the lines right now at this moment, I mean, probably not going to stay that way. You can add Mikko Rantanen to your first line right wing, maybe second line. Maybe you put Lafreniere on the first line. You got JT Miller, first line center now. Where does Zibanejad play, right? You can play around with things. Is Zibanejad even a Ranger next year, right? Like, there's so many things. They can make so much happen. Like, we all thought that Jacob Trouba wasn't going to get traded after what happened last summer. He did. Chris Drury made it happen. So is Zibanejad going to be a Ranger? Most people would be like, hey, he has a no movement clause. Of course he is. We don't know that for sure. They can free up that 8.5 very easily, as we've seen Chris Drury do. And will it, you know, make a couple people disgruntled? Yes, but he wants to be competitive and he wants the best team possible. So again, I don't think the Rangers have to move mountains. I think they only have to move hills, if that makes sense. So I think it could be very interesting, and I think that is exactly the plan from Chris Drury. He's going to make another couple trades this year to kind of build up for next year, to make another run at it next year and the next 3 years while you have JT Miller in, you know, in his prime as well, because, you know, once he gets up to 34, 35 years old, could be looking like a tough contract. So we'll see what happens there. Could be very interesting, and that is from Elliot Friedman. So let me know in the comments what you think about potentially signing Mikko Rantanen. I think that is the move. It does not sound likely by all accounts that he will actually stay a Carolina Hurricane. That seems like a move for them to win this season, which I think is odd because they've had better teams in the past. So could be very interesting. We will see how this plays out. Again, I don't think they're going to get him this year, but I think the play is to go get him in free agency. So let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.